Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's episode 181. There's this quote that's stuck with me for a long time. I think I learned about it in school. Um, Most men live lives of quiet desperation. Life does not work very well without vulnerability and openness and telling the truth. Integrity, honesty, that's where life lives. It lives in the realm of what's really going on. And the self has been deflated over time. And it's not everyone's story, but, small trauma, big trauma, complex trauma compounds, and we find a way to survive, but we can feel stuck in a loop, like the Matrix, right? Like, Neo doing his computer software job and getting an invitation to go into the Matrix and figure out what's really going on, right? Red pill, blue pill. And there's an expectation on us as humans to do the right thing. And how do you do the right thing? How do you even know what the right thing is? My experience with church, this should be more specific, American Christianity, right? Because that's my context. God tells us what's right and what's wrong. And the Bible tells us what's right and wrong, and we trust that. We trust that we can come back to right and wrong. But without knowing the truth about yourself, I shouldn't say I'm saying I'm lost. We get lost. Or we can get lost. Where the wound is, the light enters, is a quote. And the wound is an invitation. The pain and the suffering from a disorder, a diagnosis, an addiction, it all swirls together. Usually it's a combo of depression and anxiety and sadness and pain and being out of touch with our bodies. It's too obvious to say that you will survive because a lot of us do survive. A lot of us are here right now, today. When I go to sleep at night, for a while, I've had this feeling of desperation. Quiet desperation. Because no one knows about it. And I think men were designed to be leaders. And not that women aren't, but we are designed to, I think, take action. But the curse upon us is that because of pain or because of our fathers or lack of fathers, we don't take action, or we suffer because we're made for more responsibility, but we don't want that. So I want to be a man. I am a man, but I want to be a better man. And this podcast, this talking, this taking the time to record what I'm saying is an honor. It's just how the modern world works. Like, everyone has a voice, and you can let people know what you think, and we know that people can use their voice for evil or destruction, but nothing works very well without the truth about not where you want to be, but where you are right now. And sobriety, addiction, diagnoses, so these things are identities, as I've been inspired by Lindsay's podcast on YouTube. She talks about sobriety, and I'd like to have her on the podcast someday. And the desperation is real. I mean, the desperation is what's leading us, I think, to get in ruts with our actions and our behavior. So what is the desperation about? I think growing up in church, I would think God is speaking to me. I feel hunger for something. I don't know how to get there. And as a man, you're expected to be a warrior, to be a king. Now, I know that that's been very perverted and twisted and dark. Men abuse, men do the opposite of that. Men are violent. And violence is a symptom of not knowing who you are. A man is in control, not manipulating other people kind of control. A man is in control of himself. Scripture says that self-control is a fruit of the Spirit, but really it's like self-control is an energy, and is your relationship to energy. So if you're in control of yourself, my guess is that you have discipline, and you can't fulfill the vision without discipline. Depression feels like none of that can happen. That something's pushing down on me all the time, and I'm making myself suffer because I'm desperate, but I'm also stuck. So when you show up to people, to situations, you don't really know how to act, because the real you is might be too much for people. You know, like, who wants to hear stories of being a man and being sad? You know, but it's also a beautiful thing if that's how you really feel, because that's truth. And that's the way to move forward and change, is to work through and move through that. Love is powerful. And the world feels like chaos and confusion. And it feels like this is the year of absolute invasion of personal space, of political upheaval, of civil war, of riots, of things that were bad in the past only being the beginning. That's my prophetic word for you guys. It's not about blessings and abundance. Those things come through the suffering and through the pain, and the kind of Jesus that I want to understand is the Jesus that suffered. And I see a lot of women. See a lot of women on Instagram. I see a lot of women doing the stuff. And it's not to say that men aren't, but it's always just like, I work with NAMI. It's mostly women that I work with, like speakers. On my podcast, I've mostly had women. And it's not to be negative against men, because there's, rightfully so, a lot of that. But why aren't men empowering each other in a healthy way? And I'm grateful that I have some friends in my life that are doing that and are further along than me and are challenging me in that. So I do have some proximity to that. But bigger than just the people in my circle and things I know going on around me, I'm probably bothered by it because I'm supposed to lead. It's hard to lead when you don't have control of your own self. And I don't want to understand more about the diagnosis of something that a doctor told me 16 years ago, because that's how long it's been, right? I don't think we need more of that. And I'm not trying to shame anyone. And even in something I wrote on a website or something, podcast description, I said reducing stigma and da 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 da, right? And I don't even like that language. The stigma is because people are desperate for healing and to be whole and to not be controlled by their addictions or their traumas. And the stigma is really just a cultural construct that's enhancing the suffering. And the only way to break out of it is to talk about it. That's part of it. And so in talking about it, that reduces stigma because people are hiding. So I think that's a real thing. But it's not really about reducing anything. It's more taking the desperation to change to want to be healed and doing whatever it takes to get that, for that to exist on your path. So I have a lot of work to do. And this broken foot time, it's been a month, has accelerated the feeling of desperation and has prompted some conversations with community and friends, and has me telling you some about it. So where are you at, and what are you willing to do? What are you willing to do? I mean, I'm saying it to myself. What am I willing to do? Because when things last long, you know, when days turn to years, that's what makes it. That's, I think, adds to frustration or shame or fear. Like, oh well, it's already been going on like my whole life. I've always been in this way of functioning. So yeah, that's survival, but it's not 100% survival. It's shaped by the patterns of our thoughts and affected by the environments that we've involuntarily were in as kids, but voluntarily are in now as adults. So we could blame our parents to a certain extent, and blame on the healing path becomes ownership and responsibility. That's a hard one. Like, oh, you did this to me, but I'm an adult now. I gotta keep moving forward, not ignoring it, but turning blame into warrior energy. You usually fight for something that you didn't have yourself in the past, but you want now. That's what you fight for. How can I be a good father? Well, I don't have kids right now, but I have to be a good father to myself. And that's a hard one, because that's the mean inner critic that well, can sound mean. No one sees it. It's okay to be desperate. It's not okay to be quiet. And I don't mean that in like a shame way, like you should just tell everyone what's going on all the time. But what do you want? What do you want? Are you ready for societal chaos? Because the structures of injustice, the pillars of principalities and powers, the Gordon Gekko greed is good, it's been around since the beginning of time. And it's only going to get more perverted and more twisted and more chaotic and more violent and more unsettling and more traumatic. But that's an opportunity for humanity to not just go through it and survive, but to walk with some understanding and some power. This has to be the day. This is the day. This has to be the time. Don't be passive with your own healing. And I used to end every episode with suicide hotline or in my notes and stuff. And I used to say it a lot more, but don't give up. And if you are suicidal, I know I've been there, and that might not help you at all because you don't know me and I don't know you. But it's like my broken foot. This isn't the best example, but the first day it like sucked, and then I had surgery the next day, and then I was trying not to do heavy painkillers, and then my mom was helping me, and the first few days it was like I can't. I was trying to do some deep breaths, and I was watching Emily in Paris and just like watching movies and trying to distract myself from the pain. But guess what? After like a week, it got better. Pain went down. I was able to sit and read a book, and friends came over and saw me, and I wasn't always thinking about the pain. The pain got less. So time can help, but the world needs you. There's a reason why we're all alive at this crazy time in the world. There has to be. If not, then I don't know. Got to choose to believe that there's some greatness in all of this chaos. And the mind is where the battle is. Because the mind on the healing path, the mind becomes the warrior. So don't give up. Keep fighting for yourself, and also keep fighting for the people around you. Men, women, family, future kids that you want to have, future nephews, future relationships, future marriages, future loves. If you ever think about traveling and you feel super stuck, I used to go to the beach during my depressions in Orange County, and I would just feel so sad and stuck, and I would be in like beautiful like Dana Point, Ritz-Carlton on the Hill ocean just right in front of me. And I would just think like, I can't even experience how awesome this is. I remember one time my sister took me surfing. This was like in my first episode, and I was so miserable, like, because I hadn't been sleeping and my mind was just all over, and I hated it, but I still just did it anyway. And then later she's like, oh, well, why didn't you say you didn't like it? It's like, well, it's better than just sitting around and feeling sad. But think about being on a beach or wanting to travel to somewhere you think or a place you've always wanted to go. After watching Emily in Paris, I want to go to Paris. But someday it will happen. You don't know when. I mean, someday you'll be doing the thing that you dreamed about. Someday you'll just be on the beach, be like, I've been here 100 times. I've been here 100 times sad. And then one day you'll just get some hope. And that darkness will, it's like fog. It will like clear up. And that's a gift, to be present with nature, sun, ocean, mountains. I've not been very good at this personally, like going to the beach, going outside. I haven't. And I need to get some of that back. And good friends of mine encourage me to sit in the sun and to do breath work and to breathe. And I want to talk to those kinds of people on this podcast moving forward. So, Vulnerable Saturday with Jared, episode 181. This is the healing path, guys. We got to walk down it and embrace it. Embrace the warrior. Thanks for listening. I'll put some information in the notes, and we'll see you guys next time.